Welcome to the Influence and Inspire podcast, episode 13. And I'm delighted to say my guest today is Sackey, the Chief Executive of Bigga Fish. Hello, Nee.
Hello. Hi. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you?
Yeah, good. On third day of a fast, so forgive me if I slur a little bit.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. I'm sure you'll be okay. Nee, first of all, can you tell me a bit more about Bigga Fish and the services they provide?
So yeah, Bigga Fish is a youth organisation that was set up over 17 years ago. We focus on providing opportunities for young people which meet their social needs through creative solutions. So what we're most well known for is producing under 18s and under 21s events,
Okay.
of which we've produced over 200 of them, reaching over 300,000 young people. And we kind of, through those events, we do kind of three main things. One is provide a space for young people to come together and just be able to celebrate and experience their culture. Two is to provide a space and environment for people interested in getting experience and learning how to run events to be able to do that in a safe environment. And then the third part is about, I guess, in a way, providing a platform for emerging artists to be able to get opportunities that they wouldn't necessarily get access to in the commercial world.
Okay. When you say artists, you mean music artists?
Yeah, music artists, but we've worked kind of with a wider range of people, from poets and writers and visual artists as well, but predominantly music artists.
Right, just on the music, you had a project called Remix the Music.
Remix the Mix.
Remix the Mix. That's
Yeah.
it. Remix the Mix, and that was supported by the Mears Music Fund and Andrew Lloyd Webber Foundation. Can you tell me a bit about Remix the Mix?
Yeah, it came off the back of, it's a really interesting story actually. It came off the back of starting a project with an organisation called Sirius, and they do a lot of jazz music events, and we do and have been like kind of focused on grime and urban youth music. So at some point we had a conversation on the train which was about, why don't we put the creativity of urban artists together with the resources of an orchestra and see what we get out of it. And so over a 4-year period, we kind of scoped and developed that, and we did, I think it was 1 or 2 shows at the Hackney Empire that was sold out, and then we did the Barbican. We did an amazing show at the Barbican that was sold out, and then we did a festival for 15,000 people at the Olympic, as part of the Olympic Festival, and brought out Ed Sheeran and kind of really expanded it with the kind of introduction of BBK into that, alongside Miss Dynamite and loads of other people. And that went really well. And what we realised out of that, then after that we did a BBC Proms. And that, yeah, with Laura Mavula and Lady Leisha and Wretch and some others, and that all went amazing. And then off the back of that, we realised that there was an opportunity to transform orchestral music in this country, because it's kind of a problematic situation in that sector they experience. I think the statistic is 97% of their audience is over the age of 30.
Yeah.
And so what we wanted to do was find a way to do 2 things. One is make orchestral music really interesting, engaging for young people in terms of playing it, but also for those coming and experiencing it, and at the same time bringing in new audiences and new creative influences to bring it into a kind of modern age that kind of, that there's a connection between it and young people. So Remix the Mix was the project that was kind of born out of that, to kind of address that and create a model which we wanted to then put forward as a national model with once it had been really successful. So yeah.
So that sounds really good, actually. And is that still going, or are you planning to do something like that again?
Well, so we put in for the Arts Council for us to broaden that, because they have a big problem with what they call the music hubs, which is the music services in each borough. There's a music service, and they get like quite a large amount of money, but they're not engaging young people. They're really struggling, and it's not quite as bad, but the audience numbers are almost reflected in the orchestra numbers in terms of
Right.
diversity, in terms of like who's actually accessing these youth orchestras.
Yeah.
So this was a really great way for us to do it, and they just turned it down and told us to
Oh.
stay out of classical. They
Oh
told us to
wow.
stay out of classical music and stick to carnival, I think was their exact words, actually.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but we kind of continued it on in various other guises. We did a program with Somerset House for 3 years where we brought bands and like live musicians together on a larger scale to perform
Yeah.
at their open events summer series that they do during the summer. And then we just kind of look for other opportunities where we can involve like orchestras where we can, but they're quite expensive as well, so it takes quite a lot of funding to make
Yeah.
it work.
Yeah. Yeah. And you spoke a bit about getting young people to play classical or play in orchestras. Did you get a lot of young people playing in orchestras for this project?
Well, it's funny. We went around and looked at some of the music hubs, and what I found really interesting was if you asked the young people what music they played and what music they listened to, the two were really different. One would say they'd say like I'm playing Bach
Yeah.
and but I'm listening to gigs. I think we found that there was a lot of young people who wanted to see this developed.
Yeah.
From the music hubs that we kind of worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And then the music hubs themselves are really, they would like, if you watch the video online that we've done of it, you can see that the head of the music service is saying like we couldn't do this without some outside organizations such as Bigga Fish doing it. So I think it's really, that's the way forward really in all kind of areas really, is collaboration will kind of reveal, the hidden opportunities that we couldn't realize by ourselves.
Okay. Okay. So Nee, you founded Bigga Fish at the age of 21. That's very young. What motivated you to set up an organisation like Bigga Fish?
I used to work for a pop group called All Saints, and I was working for them
I think we've heard of them.
Yeah, and I was working for their manager, and I was just basically the gopher in the office. And then one day he sent me to pick up some dry cleaning or some such thing, and beside the dry cleaners was a youth centre, the Winchester project in Swiss Cottage. And we got talking with the youth worker, and he said to me, "Oh, you never guess what? The police came in today and wanted to set up a surveillance operation on the top of the youth centre."
Oh.
And I had that kind of reaction, and it just stuck in my mind, and that voice gets louder, which is like, you should do something about that.
Yeah.
So then I just got some decks, and we got some friends who were DJs, and then through like the All Saints managed to find a few celebrity DJs, and we started some DJing workshops, and they went really well. And then we did an MC workshop, and then the MCs were like, "Why are we doing this when we haven't got anywhere to perform?" So we said, "Well, let's do some events." And then that's kind of how it started. So I think it's really always been about trying to find and holding space for young people, and kind of, I guess, responding to social issues that seem incorrect or unbalanced, I would say.
Yeah.
That's at the core of Bigga Fish.
Okay, good. Tell me a bit about the street team programs that you run.
So we work in 3 cities across the UK at the moment, and we've done up to 8. But we've settled on kind of the focus of 3 being London, Birmingham, Manchester, and working just in the kind of like most deprived areas to try and engage the young people there and give them opportunities, which quite frankly they're not getting any. The youth service, I think in Manchester, has been cut by 90%. I know parts of London it's been cut by 87%, and yeah, it's like Birmingham has got like a lot of problems at the moment in terms of issues with violence, and like this year we know of like 3 people in Birmingham who've died, suicides, murders, so there's a lot of issues there. So what we try to do is basically develop a positive gang structure is what the street team is. I just call it like a cooler version of the Scouts.
Okay.
In the sense that you get training, you get opportunity if you've got aptitude and want to like progress and put effort in for you to get greater opportunities and greater results, and more responsibility. And that's really at the core of what we're trying to provide young people, is the opportunity for them to excel and for them to learn. So we alongside the street team program, we run a national captains program, which is identifying young people who've been through the street team from each of those cities to come and work to take part in a leadership program, so they can get more skills, and greater capacity for them to be able to not only do stuff in Bigga Fish, but also to do more stuff in life.
Okay. And the street teams, they work in schools and they work in prisons as well. They go into prisons and give talks.
Yeah. So what we do is we train young people. So what the captains do is they go in and train young people in delivering the events. And so we do that predominantly outside of school, but we also run programs in school. We run about 6-7 programs a year in school. And then the rest of our programs happen outside, and what we try to do is bring together a group of young people from a kind of range of backgrounds, so that people get the experience of working with people they wouldn't get to work with, and B, also it's not attached to the idea of like it being at school and you have to do it. Everyone who comes to Bigga Fish volunteers to come to Bigga Fish, and I think that's one of the most powerful things about it.
That's a big selling point.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, especially when you consider that there's people who've been involved with Bigga Fish on and off for like 5, 6, 7 years at a time.
Yeah.
You know, we've got parents now, because Bigga Fish is like 17, 18 years. We've got parents now bringing their children to our events and saying, okay, this event you can go to. I went to this one, you can go to it. So that feels like quite an inspiring and kind of grounding legacy, which we try to honor.
Okay, and another thing you guys have organised is the Enterprise Club. Can you tell me a bit about the Enterprise Club?
Yeah, Enterprise Club is kind of like a version of the street team, which is really about getting young people to understand money better and to be able to be in charge of a budget. So what we do is we raise some money, and then we just basically give them the budget and let them look at how they can use the money, and then also how they can use that money to support and develop an initiative or a business initiative in their school or community center, or to make a contribution to a social issue that's happening in their local community. So we've kind of done stuff in schools, like we did a project with Lady Leisha around homelessness and kind of raising awareness for that, which went really well. They had like 350 people turn up to that.
Okay.
And then other ones like sports days. So we've been done sports days for the local community, and got like 300-400 people out to do a whole day of like sports in central London. So there are all kinds of various different kind of things. Also, just about social causes and issues. So like things like what's going on in terms of like attitudes towards like women, or attitudes towards like like racism or whatever it is. It's whatever the young people want to do, and then we just build that into a little business model. And that came off the back of us doing Bigga Business, and kind of seeing the value of teaching young people about financial literacy as early on as possible, really.
Yeah, and I was going to talk to you about Bigga Business as well. So yeah, Bigga Fish has helped set up over 100 new businesses, and you also offer mentoring as part of that support package. Can you tell me how the mentoring works and who are the mentors you use?
What I should say is that we don't actually produce that anymore.
Oh, right.
The government changed their guidelines on what they wanted to see happen. So we shifted from a really exciting scheme, which was about like first-time businesses and especially young businesses, which was what we felt was really important. And then it shifted to businesses that would return a lot of money to the government. It kind of had to stop, really, because they didn't really anymore see the value of the smaller businesses.
Right. Okay.
But whilst we were doing it, we had like a cohort of like, I think 300 mentors.
Right.
Like really great people at Google, people at Facebook, people at like Sony, MTV, and they were providing like week-on-week support and guidance for people who were getting low-cost loans that were unsecured from the government, which we were able to then manage. And that was really important for us because it also helped us to distribute money into the community, which I think is one of the fundamental things that is causing a lot of the issues that we see within like inner city communities or communities that we kind of consider as being, with issues, which is about the actual flow of money into those groups, and how by doing that it empowers people to be able to realize their dreams and then be able to help other people to realize their dreams.
Okay, so Bigga Fish has helped over 250,000 young people, believe it or not. And
it's actually over 300,000.
Oh, it's over 300,000.
Yeah,
that is amazing.
It's been a really interesting journey.
And
but sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's fine. But it's amazing. The numbers, the amount of people Bigga Fish have had an impact in their life is amazing. And following all of your good work, you were awarded the Clore Leadership Breakthrough Award. And how did that feel to get that recognition for all the good work that Bigga Fish do?
Yeah, that was a really great opportunity. That was kind of more a kind of great personal acknowledgement to understand, because I think when I started so young, there wasn't quite any. I didn't have a peer group at that time. The urban scene was very undeveloped in a lot of ways. There wasn't people I could of my own kind of age or kind of culture that I could identify in many of the record labels or even many of the artists that were actually able to really be kind of perceived in the way that we perceive the urban artists now. I think it's really blossomed, and that's great. And so at that point, the Clore Leadership Award was myself and I think like 25 other people that they considered to be like the future of cultural leadership in the country. And it was set up by like the Secretary of State, and that was great. And because what that did was it really taught me both what to do and what not to do. And it was great because I got to meet lots of leaders. So I think it's really important for people to go on leadership development courses, and people who have got talent and who have got drive. Everyone's got talent, but the drive, I think, is what actuates it. And to put themselves onto leadership and training, like continuous training, is I think one of the most important things you can do. And often I think as you get older, you can kind of go, actually, I don't need any more training, but I think it's a lifelong journey.
Okay. So what's on the horizon for Bigga Fish for the future?
I think two things. In the positive, we are, as everything is positive, I guess, to be honest. In what is very clear at the moment is that we're developing we've just bought a 12-acre site in Jamaica. We're going to open a farm and a kung fu temple for young inner city men, particularly from an Afro-Caribbean background, who are being challenged by inner city life. And obviously, after doing it so long, you kind of see the cycle and the routine of things. And you meet a lot of people who are kind of trapped and they want out but don't know how. There's not that many options, you know, and then on top of that, then some of them it's too late. I think last year there was like 2,075 like seriously violent incidences leading to like death or like very dangerous injuries. When you consider that, when you break that down, that's like 3 or 4, 5, 6 people a day, whatever it is a day. It's a lot of people, like young people, and then you think about their families, and then if you want to think on a money point of view, how the weight of that on our nation, but more just the social and moral waste, I think, of people's lives and community damage it causes. I think we really saw that this year. So we wanted to find a solution to this extreme scenario, this situation that everyone talks about wanting to change, but actually we don't really make any headway. So what we realized was, I think also from my travels, I spent some time in China last year in a kung fu temple, and I saw the value of it, of And I just was thinking the whole time I was there, imagine what it would be like if it was all of those young men were training and were able to have the space to be able to find themselves.
Yeah.
And to just be out of the treadmill. So we kind of got together like the money and purchased the land, and then we're going to run a Kickstarter campaign in October to help raise some more money for it to do the building.
Yeah.
And we want to have it open by next September. And that will take like 100 young people a year, and they'll be able to stay for up to 6 months at a time. And basically, they just pay for their ticket to get to Jamaica, and then everything after that is covered for them, food and accommodation. And then they train like 5.5 days a week, and like training and farming, and basically get fit in body and mind, and be in beautiful surroundings.
Wow, that just sounds amazing. That sounds amazing.
Thanks.
And how will you identify the kind of people that will go? Is that will they have to apply for it, or will you go into certain organisations?
Yeah, there'll be an application. We'll make it aware to those organisations. But everyone, I think, what's really important about the journey we want to take people on, which is about discovering the power of the individual, the power within yourself.
Yeah.
And so the first step in that stage is for you to take the step by yourself. That's what I love about Bigga Fish, is people step into Bigga Fish, and I think there's power in making that choice, as opposed to, you know, someone gave me like, you know, this organization is going to pay for me to go, so I'm going to go give it a try. We want the people who want to make a difference in their life, who are looking for like a different scenario and are willing to put effort into it and commitment. And so that commitment is for you to be able to say, like, actually, I really want to do this. So there'll be like a short like video phone application. We don't need to stand on the ceremony with like written words. It's just to get an understanding of the person, and then they just need to know what's going to be undertaken in terms of what we expect of people, and then they're more than welcome. They can just they're more than welcome.
Yeah, it sounds really exciting. You'll have to keep us posted with that one.
Definitely. It's going to be called Tribe. It's going to be called Tribe, and the first one will be called Tribe Jamaica.
Oh, nice.
And we should be open for applications in June, July of next year.
Oh, excellent. So just on Bigga Fish, so you've told us about all the great work that Bigga Fish does, and it's some amazing work, and you're continuing to do that work. But I've been told that there's going to be an issue with funding for Bigga Fish, and apparently the funding's been cut. Can you just explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, it's well, basically, I've been having like an ongoing like discussion with the Arts Council of England for like the last 18 months, or once as I've started to really understand how they're spending their money. And in my position, like, I'm also an ambassador, a cultural ambassador for the Mayor of London, with a portfolio for young people. So I've started to do a lot of research, and what I realized was that the Arts Council's been grossly misfunding the nation, basically, and in particular diverse communities and working class communities and young people in the way that they're distributing their public money. And so I've been having a conversation with them, and it seems like, in a long story short, that they have not been happy with that. And in this last funding round, they cut us, which is kind of funny when you understand that in March they gave the organization like a high rating, and said that we were one of the best at engaging diverse audiences and bringing in young people who wouldn't engage with the arts. And then in June they cut the organization, saying that they didn't understand the program, which is the same program we've run for the last 3 years.
Yes.
And I think what is underneath it is that there's an institutionalized culture there which doesn't really respect Black culture, working class culture, or youth culture, and that's fundamentally it. And if people want to really understand that, then they should just have a look into the numbers of how the Arts Councils work. And so, for example, they gave 333, whilst they cut us, they gave 333 million pounds to orchestras, but gave like 7 to grime.
Right.
Yeah, so it's quite huge. In fact, I think they give 98% of their music money to orchestras.
98%.
Yeah. Yeah, have a look into the research. Just in London alone, they give like 92% of their money to orchestras, and they just gave orchestras a £45 million uplift, increase. So, the problem with it is that I was trying to raise with the Arts Council is that money, like a large chunk of it, rightfully should be in different communities, because the Arts Council knows that the orchestras, their audiences is like 97%, as I said before,
like you've already
97%.
mentioned.
Yeah, so there's a real issue in how they're engaging young people. So on one hand, they're saying like we really want to engage young people and we really want to invest in diverse communities, but the actual reality is that they actually cut diverse funding by 10% every time they do the funding round.
Yeah,
and so it's just that kind of dichotomy that I was trying to unpick with them, and I guess they weren't happy about that.
all right. So what does that mean for Bigga Fish moving forward, though? Because
I think, I think there's only two other places that you can get funding, like what the Arts Council money does is it provides about a third of our income, but it's the most important third because it's what allows us to go get the other 2/3.
Yes. Yeah.
And so by cutting it, if I'm really honest, I'm not sure how Bigga Fish is going to move forward, actually. If I'm really honest about it, because which is kind of it's a concern for me. One, because I don't see anyone else in the Arts Council portfolio doing the work that we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that work is important to happen, whether it's us or some other organisation. But the other side of it is, actually should be multiple organisations doing that kind of work, because the need is super real right now.
Yeah,
there's more need than ever before for this kind of engagement, and also it works.
Yes.
It works. So like we were 3 times more successful than the Arts Council's model of best practice for engaging diverse communities. So there's a way for it all to work, but unfortunately I feel like it's being limited at the moment by a kind of culture of arrogance, really, that actually this art form is important and it deserves money, and this art form doesn't, and these cultures don't. Yeah.
Okay. So if we, as public, want to make our voices heard about what's happening and what's actually happening with Bigga Fish, how can we go about doing it?
Well, all support is really appreciated. The hashtag that the Arts Council is using to talk about diversity is the hashtag Creative Case. And that's a good place to voice your opinions about them and ask them questions. Like, don't take my word for it. Just ask the Arts Council directly how much money is Black and working class culture and communities contributing to the Arts Council budget. And then how much are they getting back? How much is Grime getting? Ask them the questions and see what they tell you.
Yeah.
And in support of us, any support anyone can give, and any ideas that anyone wants to contribute to our organisation, both in terms of where we might find money or where we might find opportunities, we are really open to, and they can just get in touch with us on all social media and we'll respond to them directly.
Okay, and just a bit about social media. What's your website, first of all?
So we're www.biggafish.com, biggafish.com, and then we're at Bigga Fish, Bigga Fish, on all social media.
Okay, excellent. Well, Nee, it's been exhilarating speaking to you today and very enlightening. I hope everything goes well with the funding, etc., and your project in Jamaica. And thanks for talking to me today.
Really a pleasure. Thanks so much.
All right.
Look forward to hearing it.